Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular Rainbow District School Board meeting for Tuesday, September 24th. Welcome to everybody who's in the crowd with us tonight, and I'd like to welcome anybody who's joined us online in cyberspace. So we'll start tonight's meeting with our land acknowledgement, and the Rainbow District School Board would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Anishinaabeg, including the Atikamekw, Ashanomic, and the Wahnabete nations. We would like to acknowledge that we are situated within the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 and want to recognize the inherent rights of the Anishinaabeg that maintain these lands from time immemorial. And we'll start tonight's meeting with our roll call.
Trustee Dubosky, Trustee Farrell,
Present.
Trustee Gibson, Trustee Cosmerly,
Present.
Trustee McCauley,
Present.
Trustee Dewar, Trustee Hunda,
Present.
Trustee Corbier-Addison,
Present.
Trustee Clement,
Present.
Student Trustee Nutstein,
Present.
and Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
Present.
Thank you, Director, and we have quorum. So our first item of business on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. So I'll need a mover and seconder that the agenda for the regular board meeting of September 24th, 2024 be approved. So that's moved by Trustee Cosmerly and seconded by Trustee Clement. And we'll move to the vote. Director?
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison,
In favor?
Trustee Farrell,
In favor.
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor.
Trustee McCauley,
In favor.
Student Trustee Nutstein,
In favor.
and Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you, Director. Preliminary declarations of pecuniary interest. Any declarations to be claimed tonight? Seeing none, move to presentations. And I'll pass the mic over to our Director, Mr. Bourget, to introduce the presentation. Go ahead, Bruce.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. I'm going to leave most of the introductions to Superintendent McNamara. I will tell you, though, that the people presenting tonight are an integral part of a lot of hard work to make something very special possible, and we're excited to present to you all the work that's been done to welcome our newcomers. And I just can't tell you how excited we are about this and how grateful we are for all the leadership that made this possible. And with that, I'll turn it over to Superintendent McNamara.
Good evening, everyone. I have the pleasure of starting this presentation off, and as you can see in front of you, as part of our strategic directions, there are 4 priorities: equity, inclusive education, student success and achievement, literacy and numeracy, and mental health and well-being. These priorities are going to be at the forefront of this presentation this evening. Excited to share with you that our board, our community, has welcomed an extensive population of newcomers to our schools. And tonight you are going to hear from both Principal Student Success, Melanie Bertrand, and Principal Program, Dan Kozier, to talk about the role that they are each playing in welcoming our newcomers and how we are going about supporting them, including opening up the Welcome Center. So I want to give a really huge thank to both of them for the presentation this evening and the support that they are giving. To Principal Bertrand, I know this has been a very long-awaited wait for the Welcome Center, and there was a lot of heart and soul put into this. So at this point in time, I'm going to welcome Melanie to speak to you about all things newcomers.
Thank you very much, Superintendent McNamara. Yes, I am very excited to be standing here tonight to talk to you about this. Here is our agenda for this presentation this evening. We are going to cover a lot of ground in about 35 minutes or so. We're going to provide some historical context for the welcoming of newcomers into our communities and the impact on local and board demographics. will then paint a picture of current registrations for newcomers and outline the system of support for multilingual learners. Following this, Principal Cozier and I will share some of the best practices that we have in place, both at the school and classroom level, and then provide information about this new and exciting Welcome Center that Superintendent McNamara mentioned. Our community partnership will be highlighted with forward thinking about further community building and planning. So another thing close to my heart, as you already know, is high yield instructional strategies. So we're going to bring those things together tonight, and to model an instructional practice, sharing vocabulary and highlighting definitions is helpful always before delving into a subject. This is especially true, of course, for students who are new to the language of instruction, like English or French. And like students who are newcomers, we benefit a lot, all students do, from having this top loading of vocabulary and terms. So here are some terms on the screen that you're going to hear tonight. And I am going to take the time to go over them because it might help understand or explain the nuances related to school registration. So newcomers are also known as recent immigrants. And this term refers to landed immigrants who came to Canada up to 5 years prior to a given census year. Our last census was 2021. If a person's, permanent resident is next on the list, and if a person's permanent residence application is approved, they will be issued a confirmation of permanent residence document. And this is required for official landing in Canada. This is a big deal for people who wish to become permanent residents. And a permanent resident has not, though, been approved for Canadian citizenship. That would be potentially a next step. A refugee is the name for someone who is fleeing armed conflict. A refugee claimant is a person who has applied for refugee status from inside Canada. A study permit or temporary permit authorizes a foreign national to undertake educational activities, such as being an international student, whether that's in elementary, secondary, or post-secondary education. A work permit is an immigration document authorizing a foreign national to undertake employment in Canada and the conditions of this employment. And we'll talk a little bit more about how these are related to the influx of newcomers in our community. IRCC is an acronym that I'm guilty of using without explaining, so I'm going to explain it tonight. So this stands for Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada, and it's a federal ministry which controls the borders. It issues the documentation that we review during the registration process. Settlement workers in schools, or SWIS as we like to call them. This program, these people who are settlement workers in schools are part of a program that helps newcomer families begin school in Canada, and of course, then in Ontario and in Sudbury. Settlement workers connect with newcomer families in one-to-one settings, in group settings. They visit schools, and they have office space that we'll describe in a moment. They provide important settlement information and help with the transition to school. This is a federally funded program that we are lucky enough to have access to through the YMCA Settlement Services. Multilingual learners. You might have heard this term before under English language learners. There's reasons for that change, which again we'll highlight when we talk about how we welcome and view newcomers. So multilingual learners, is the term we use for students who are taking the steps to become proficient in the English language. A record of accommodation and modification will be mentioned this evening. We call it the ROAM document, and it informs classroom teachers' practice while a student is moving along the proficiency benchmarks for English language acquisition. And then finally, no, sorry, I've got 2 more to go here. The Ontario Language Behavior, or OLB, is a continua that serve as the main assessment and tracking tool of the English as a Second Language resource, which is provided by the Ministry of Education. And it supports the progress of our multilingual learners and informs programming decisions at the school and classroom level. And finally, STEP. STEP, it refers to the Steps to English Proficiency, and it's an Ontario framework for assessing and monitoring the language acquisition and literacy development of English language learners across the Ontario curriculum. So there's a lot of terms there. You might feel for a moment like a student in a classroom in a subject you're not familiar with. So I hope that helps set the context for the rest of the presentation. So in a very short period of time, the Rainbow District School Board has witnessed a significant shift in school populations. The arrival of many new Canadian families has changed the demographics of our schools. We welcome parents and families who are at times timid and unsure of how to navigate our Canadian and Ontario school systems. And as a result, we have learned about customs, cultural celebrations, and more about the worlds from which our students and their families come. We hear laughter and new languages spoken between siblings and friends on the playground. This continues to be an opportunity for all of us to grow and learn in our increasingly diversifying communities and global societies. There are several factors that have contributed to this recent growth, both in the city of Greater Sudbury and the surrounding Rainbow School areas. They are the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Project, or we call it the RNIP, which expedites the immigration of the family members of participants who receive a work permit through this initiative. And I can tell you today, I met a amazing family hailing from Egypt at the Welcome Center today, and this parent was part of the RNIP and has a job at a local business, and the family was able to join through this this pilot project. So it was perfect timing. We have also had pretty successful post-secondary recruitment of adult students who have school-age children. So Laurentian University and Cambrian College have many adult learners participating in their programs, from business studies to early childhood education, and school-age children of those adult learners are registered in our schools. And of course, refugee claimants and refugees who have come to Canada and now call Sudbury home also have contributed to that increase. And then finally, we've seen an increase of immigrants who have been issued permanent resident status, and they often reunite with their families by when the family is able to join them in their new community and home, and often that includes school-age children. So there are several factors that have increased newcomer population in both the Greater Sudbury area and Rainbow Schools. So we're going to give you an idea of this year's registrations, and you can see on that slide the dates. August 19th was the very first day schools reopened to the public for registrations, and the data was drawn between this date and September 20th, which was last Friday. So we're going to share some data with you that paints a picture, provides a snapshot of the registrations we've seen so far this year. And I mentioned today that we had a registration, so they're ongoing. This is now slightly old data. So we're going to look at system data, registrations by school, by grade level, and by first languages spoken. So system level data. We have registered in 5 weeks 149 newcomer students from kindergarten to grade 12 in Rainbow Schools. 149. This number, as I said, increased today, and we have registrations happening throughout the week. Our aim is to ensure that children get into the schools as soon as possible. So we have a family who's starting at their new school tomorrow, 3 children who are thrilled. They can't wait to attend. So the next slide shows our breakdown of the most recent, so the 5-week window of registrations by school. You might note the larger slices of the pie, and that would be for these dates: Lockerbie Composite School, Churchill Public School, Princess Anne Public School, and McLeod Public School. Combined, they account for 54.8% of school placements. Also note that schools with less than 1% of the total are unlabeled, and those include Adamsdale, Barrydown College, Chelmsford Valley District, Confederation Elementary, Confederation Secondary, Little Current, and RLBD. And it is important to note that this is only representative of the registrations that have occurred during this year's startup, and not reflective of the total existing newcomer students represented in all Rainbow schools. In other words, it's a recent snapshot. And this graph represents the grades of the new registrants to date. This is very interesting to me because it's quite, it's fairly even in my opinion. So new students are entering the full spectrum of classrooms from kindergarten on with fairly even distribution. Of course, it's also evident that JK and grade 11 and 12 are the highest bars on the graph there. So we see lots of students entering elementary, of course, but just as many entering senior high school. And in just a moment, Principal Cozier will provide a more fulsome picture of multilingual learners in Rainbow schools. And this pie chart, before he takes over here, illustrates the diversity of the newcomers recently registered. And this is about their first language. So non-English first language of newcomers. And you can see there is a variety of first languages spoken: Punjabi, Farsi, Bengali, Tagalog, Urdu, Ukrainian, Vietnamese, Cantonese, followed by Spanish and Mandarin, which account for the greatest percentages of first languages spoken by students who have recently registered. And when I think some of you have visited schools, you can hear the language, the first language, on playgrounds and in classrooms, and it's wonderful. All right, I'm going to have Principal Cozier come up here and tell you all about the good work that his team has done with multilingual learners.
Thank you. So as Principal Bertrand said, we've seen a significant influx of multilingual learners over the past number of years. At this time last year, we had approximately 450 students with English language learning needs. This year, we currently have over 600 students for whom English is not their first language. These students speak more than 40 different first languages and dialects. This growing diversity enriches our schools and classrooms. With the growing number of students requiring English language learning support, our complement of English language teachers has increased. We now have a team of 8 itinerant teachers serving our language learners throughout the board. One of our primary goals when registering students whose first language is not English is completing assessments quickly to ensure we can provide appropriate supports. The assessment we do focuses on students' English language skills in 3 areas: reading, writing, and oral language. Qualified English language teachers, commonly called ELTs, complete these assessments. This summer, we were able to complete 18 assessments prior to the start of the school year. Some of these occurred at the Welcome Center, while others occurred at school sites. This flexibility allowed us to provide service for families in a way that was most accessible for them. Student proficiency in each of the 3 areas is measured on a scale from 1 to 6. The data collected is used to determine a plan of support for each student. For some students, this includes direct instruction from an English language teacher, while other students may benefit from accommodations in the classroom. For students who require support in the development of their English language proficiency, a specific plan is put into place. This plan, which Principal Bertrand spoke to, is called a Record of Accommodation and Modification, or ROAM. and it outlines specific measures to allow the student to build English proficiency and access grade-appropriate materials. These plans are developed in consultation with classroom teachers and English language specialist teachers and include accommodations specific to each student. These might include the use of first language labels for items in the classroom, dual language dictionaries, focused instruction on subject-specific vocabulary, pairing students up with a peer for support, and the use of translation tools when appropriate. The ROAM can also provide specific goals for student language acquisition by providing a supportive environment and ensuring that these supports are consistent across teachers and classes. Students are given the best opportunity for success. As a living document, the ROAM is updated regularly based on the student's most current assessments. Educators aim to find the perfect balance between providing adequate supports for success and challenging students to develop and grow in their language proficiency. Our goal is always to ensure that students feel welcomed within their schools. For students who are new to Canada, we provide schools and classroom teachers with support to ensure a welcoming, inclusive environment. A number of strategies are used, from ensuring that signage and bulletin boards are reflective of the languages and identities of our students and families, to incorporating the use of a student's first language, which we commonly call their L1, in the classroom where appropriate. Because we know that families have different experiences and schooling systems vary from region to region, we also provide specific information about school routines, such as lunch expectations, transportation, and school holidays. With the help of itinerant and central staff, schools receive a bank of strategies to make sure families and students feel welcomed, included, and supported. On this slide, you can see a simple but effective strategy in place at Queen Elizabeth II Public School. To celebrate the diversity of their students, a map has been displayed that highlights all of the home countries represented within the school. This display shows that the school values the identities of its students and acts as a catalyst for discussion and connection. We want students to know that within our school, their varied experiences and backgrounds are a strength. Here we see an example of a dual language word wall in a school hallway. This encourages the use of the student's first language, or L1, and supports students who are using English. One important thing to note is that supporting students to develop their English proficiency, while supporting students to develop their English proficiency is a focus, we also want to respect their proficiency in their home language and leverage that proficiency wherever possible. This could include providing students with multilingual resources, the use of translation software to allow them to share their knowledge in their first language, and providing materials in their first language to ensure mastery of content and skills. As our schools welcome students from across the globe, they are committed to building communities and respecting the cultural backgrounds of all learners. McLeod Public School, which houses our largest population of newcomer students per capita, is an excellent example of this commitment. This is an image of the Lunar New Year celebration that was held at the school last year. By incorporating cultural events that reflect the lived experiences of our students, we not only demonstrate the value of those experiences, but allow students to learn about cultures and traditions from around the world. We want our schools to be places where our students see themselves reflected and respected, as well as places where they can learn from others in a way that respects and honors their identities. I'll invite Principal Bertrand up to speak to the Welcome Center.
Thank you, sir. New this year, very excited, and tangible response to the needs of our newcomers in keeping with our values and priorities is the Rainbow District School Board Welcome Center. It is located in Sudbury Secondary School, adjacent to the Adult Day School, and is accessible via the Davidson Street entrance. The center is open weekdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Families who visit the Welcome Center get assistance with the transition to school and the registration process. Appointments are made by emailing. We have a dedicated email address, the welcomecenter@rainbowschools.ca. And there's a dedicated phone line that families can call. That information is shared on our website. And there's a Google form for families to complete in advance of joining us for an appointment so we can learn as much as possible about them. Parents and guardians can also visit a dedicated website, which is international.rainbowschools.ca, where newcomers can access information in multiple languages through Google Translate. And of course, families are always welcome to drop in without an appointment. The Welcome Center is supported by myself and Principal Cozier and our fantastic administrative assistant, Catherine. We are a mobile service. When needed, we take the Welcome Center on the road and meet families near or at the school closest to them. We are delighted to report that we have been very busy with all manner of registration conversations, inquiries, meetings, and are truly thrilled when we can help a family new to our community navigate the registration process so that their children can attend school as soon as possible. The registration process for families who are not Canadian citizens is a little more nuanced than a regular registration. We review documents issued by IRCC. We support both newcomer families and school staff by completing part 1 of this process through the Welcome Center. We call this a Registration 04 form. Typically, we process registration for parents of school-aged children who have been issued the following documentation from IRCC: a work permit, a study permit. They may have a permanent residency status, or they may be refugees or refugee claimants. Meeting with families in person also allows us to explain other aspects of registration, such as school catchment areas, school transportation, consenting to English language support, and facilitates the connection with the YMCA settlement services if appropriate. It also allows us to get to know them, and that's delightful. Our Welcome Center registration meeting is followed up with communication with the receiving school. And when we have information to share beyond the simple registration 04, we share that information with the receiving school. Maybe there's information about the family situation that's pertinent to the receiving principal. The administration teams of those receiving schools then arrange to meet the new students and their families, and they proceed with the school level registration paperwork. They share information pertinent to the school and grade, and they provide, of course, a school tour and do all of the other things that a welcoming school does. So I mentioned possibly a connection to the settlement worker in schools, and we are so fortunate because the settlement workers in schools that we have access to or in partnership with are situated at the Welcome Center as well. So when not in schools, they share a meeting and office space across the hall from where our registrations occur. Fran Gonzalez, she's so cute, she's pictured right there. She was very nervous to pose for a photo. And her counterpart, Alicia Rowett, assists newcomers both during and after school registration. Fran was with me today when we registered a family at the Welcome Center, and she, you know, it's such a nice soft landing when you have this wraparound support. Services are provided on an ongoing as an as-needed basis. And the services that Fran and Alicia provide include school registration meetings, both at the Welcome Center or at a school, school transportation conversations, which can be tricky to navigate if a school bus has never been part of a child's life before from where they have come from, explaining field trips and co-curriculars, supporting home-to-school communication, informing the school and the school community of cultural events and days of significance, connecting students and families with resources and services in the community, visiting newcomer students in schools to teach about Canadian culture and traditions, helping with parent-teacher conferences when required, and they also provide translation services when possible. We are very grateful for this partnership. So when visiting the Welcome Center, families receive information about other resources and supports in addition to this very important YMCA settlement service. We connect families as appropriate to the Sudbury Multicultural Folk Arts Association, LINK Sudbury. If you don't know about LINK, LINK stands for Language Instruction for Newcomers to Canada, and it is a very busy program in our community. There's a wait list to be part of the English language program. Basically, it is federally funded program that provides free English language classes to permanent residents, landed immigrants, convention refugees, government-sponsored refugees who are adults. We also refer to the Sudbury Local Immigration Partnership and other cultural and spiritual organizations. We often direct newcomer families to the resources on the Greater Together Sudbury website, and settlement.org, also very helpful. As the name implies, the Welcome Center is meant to provide ease of access and information to those who are new to our community. Having a central location that is accessible, complemented by information on our board website, this allows us to respond to registration inquiries in a timely manner, which in turn allows for children to begin school as soon as possible upon arrival. And this is what parents want: the opportunity to learn, to make friends, and to be involved in the many opportunities that Rainbow Schools offer. The Welcome Center will also support newcomers post-registration. We have only recently opened our doors, but already have plans for more services to build a sense of community and provide ongoing support. Stay tuned for information about larger group events and information sessions as we prepare for the next influx of newcomers into our schools. Another aim of the Welcome Center, as we support the priorities outlined at the beginning of the presentation, is to support schools as they serve a more diverse school community. And we provide strategies, Principal Crozier mentioned some, for welcoming newcomers from the front entrance to the gymnasium and beyond. We know that students, wherever they are from, new or not, do better in school when they feel welcomed, valued, celebrated, and seen. We view newcomers through an asset lens, as represented by this slide. Earlier, I talked about the words, English language learner being replaced in recent times with multilingual learner, and that's because we want to emphasize the asset that having many languages provides for a learner, not a deficit of not knowing English. So we don't want to consider English language learners as disadvantaged. Instead, we consider their rich background, their linguistic diversity. Often students know 4 or 5 languages. They may not have mastered English, but they sure know a lot more than I do. Their varying perspectives, their global knowledge, their resilience, their adaptability, and their drive to seize the opportunities that our education system provides for them. Families who have recently immigrated to our communities have a very broad spectrum of experience. Some have fled from violence and war. Others are here as their parents work and learn in our community. Whatever the reason, the work that we do in our schools acknowledges and celebrates all that our new learners bring to our classrooms. So to close, I leave you with some quotations from students who are new to Rainbow Schools. Clearly, this is important to me, so I'm sorry. We make posters and flags of our country. We like to see our flags in our school. I happy here. We play outside. I go run club. I have 20 more friends. Teachers are helpful and friendly. That's Dan's stuff. And all of our teachers, there's a lot of really good work. These English language teachers do incredible work with these kids. I'm nervous, like I am right now, scared, uncomfortable, crying. Talking to my teacher helped me. So with that, thank you very much. Arigato, obrigado, grazie, merci, gracias, all those wonderful languages we hear in our schools increasingly. Thank you very much for your attention, And at this time, Dan would be happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Mel and Dan, for an absolutely informative presentation. Unbelievable. And it's okay, Mel, because this topic actually moves me very much also. And to see the work that we're doing in Rainbow Schools is just fantastic. So I'd like to open up the floor for some questions. Trustee Cosmerly first.
All right, two questions. First, that was awesome, and I'm so glad that we've moved forward with this because our demographics are really changing. One of the questions was, are we tying this in any way to the international students program that we've had the last couple of years? And my second question, I'll just raise it now, but just so it's out there. A number of years ago, the City of Greater Sudbury did a presentation to the board about demographics in Sudbury. Our demographics have now gone completely differently than what we were told then. Do you know whether or not they're doing an updated demographics, and would that be something that we might consider here? Thanks.
Thank you very much for those good questions. I said you were going to answer the questions, but is it okay if I take over here? Okay. First, I'll address the international student recruitment that you're referring to. I think the last time the first time I spoke to trustees about this was with Superintendent Judy Noble, and it was in 2015. And then the last time I spoke about this was right in the middle of a pandemic, which really which changed our direction. So I'll also say that we still do, of course, receive international student applications for fee-paying students. And the difference is, of course, those students wouldn't have any, or their parents wouldn't have immigration status within our country, and they want to come here and study in our schools. And I think at this point, I believe we have 6 fee-paying students. Some are arriving in the middle of their high school students. They're arriving in the middle of the semester, but some have arrived already. Sorry, not the middle of the semester, the middle of the year, semester 2. I still process those applications. I work very closely then with schools who receive the students. And it's a different process because there's an application involved and about 13 or so components to that application that results eventually in a study permit being issued if all goes well. And then the student arrives and we have already predetermined, of course, through their custodianship where they're going to be living and what school they're going to be going to. We've likely already established a timetable. So it's a little different. Back in 2015, the Ministry of Education had a framework document around international student recruitment. The priorities of the ministry have changed. Right at the same time as the pandemic really altered the ability to do that level of work, it shifted a lot of school boards' priorities in that way. We experienced this really incredible influx of newcomers. And at the time, the first real group that we saw come at the same time was a group of refugees. And we shifted all of our attention to supporting those students that were going to be attending our schools. And that's remained the focus in line with our board priorities. Yeah. So to have it another way, it's not recruitment, it's support. The second question was about demographics. The City of Sudbury publishes demographics based on the census. The 2021 census is the last one that we're due, for another census. And you can see on their website that there is, from the period between 2016 and 2020, there was fewer newcomers landing in Sudbury. And there's I want to say, actually I might have that here, one moment. There is a considerable influx of newcomers who landed, and like upwards of 8,000 new citizens in the community that arrived between 16 and 21. 2016, 2021. So this, it's really interesting. You can check the City of Sudbury map out, and it outlines languages spoken, recent immigration patterns, and things like that. And of course, this changes all the time. The focus of the RNEP, for example, the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Project, really contributed to that influx. And that whether or not that program continues will certainly not up to me. But I certainly think families have benefited from it greatly, like the family I met today.
Further questions? Trustee Hunda online. Go ahead, Trustee Hunda. And then Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, through you, Chair Farrell. I want to just thank you both. And please don't ever apologize for the tears. I'm quite the kindred spirit. Tears actually come quite easily to me when something touches my heart, or it is I'm passionate about. And that's what I want to thank both of you, who I know personally, for your heart and your passion, because this is when we deal with children, and no matter what circumstance that they're before us, for them to be welcomed, and for this help for families, I'm so very, very proud that we do this. And I think that this is a perfect example of reaching minds and touching hearts. And I know how dedicated you and all those that work with you are to this. And I'm just extremely proud that we are so welcoming to these individuals that have come to our city, and that we're helping them in any way that we can to settle in and become great citizens of our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Hunda. Trustee Gibson.
Thank you, Chair Farah. Through you to Principal Bertrand, I think, or Principal Cozier. I've got a couple of questions. I'll just do them one at a time. So you mentioned towards the end there, Principal Bertrand, about the next influx, and I was just wondering, does that tend to match up with our counting dates for enrollment, or do we get them at odd times? Because I know universities some take intakes in February or January. So how does that work out with our enrollment? Do we get them in time to get funding, or is the government flexible about that if we're getting people after dates?
Great question.
Can you comment on that?
These influxes are sometimes predictable and sometimes not predictable. With the number of students who attend as children of adult students, and registrations tend to occur at the beginning of terms in post-secondary school. And there are 3 terms. There are the term right now, there is a term after Christmas, and then there's a summer term as well. So in terms of enrollment, yes, I think that students coming in a January timeframe would be counted in a March enrollment count, for example. But there are all kinds of families who come at any time of year, and and it's not something I think about, so I appreciate the question. I think so much more about get them into a school immediately so they can start being part of the community. But I see your point. Thank you.
I completely understand that, and I would want them in school. I'm just wondering how that matches up with how we're funded. And then following up, it's a similar question around the English language teachers. Like you said, we had 8, and I assume we had much less a few years ago. And how are they funded?
Great question. Yeah, go ahead.
So I can speak to that. So if students are coming from specific countries, they're flagged in our student information system for funding, and so they're funded on a 5-year, and Superintendent Gilbo, if I'm speaking out of turn, feel free to correct me, but on a 5-year formula. So they're funded at the highest level when they first enter the system, and then they're funded at a decreasing level for each year after that they're with us, up to 5 years. So that's sort of the driving factor in terms of staffing our ELTs, our English language teachers. So we've seen a doubling in that team over the past couple of years. So a significant increase in that number of teachers. So really that's the determining factor. So based on the number of students who are flagged in our student information system as coming from countries that generate funding specifically for ELL.
Thank you. And my last question, and I apologize, I might be getting a little technical here, but Principal Bertrand, you mentioned about how during intake you have a discussion, and sometimes there's pertinent information that should go to the principal.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering how that information makes its way to the principal, who it's shared with, whether it's entered into a system. I'm just concerned, for privacy and,
Absolutely, yes.
Sometimes when you're coming from a place where that information perhaps could be incorrectly shared and where that trust is being built. So that makes sense.
Absolutely. So I can give you an example of perhaps a family who has been living in let's say, a refugee camp. And let's imagine that a lockdown drill is planned for a school, as they routinely are in September. It would be important for the school principal to be aware that one of the learners in their building may not respond well to that from their past experiences, which may be related to trauma. So that would be shared with the school principal, who then would create a safety plan for that student in that event. Yeah, and those are, of course, all of those processes are in line with the confidentiality requirements.
Perfect, thank you. So it's just going into our existing processes, no need to reinvent the wheel. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Gibson. Trustee Nujatai.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. So I want to thank you both very much before asking your question about this amazing presentation that you put on. And it's great to know that all the newcomer students are in very good hands with their future from pre-K all the way to grade 11 and 12. So that makes me very happy to hear. I have one question. It's a bit of a two-parter. So my first one is surrounding the teachers and teachers that have a very large demographic of students that may be coming into their school, especially within the senior secondary grades of school. I'm very proud to come from Lockerbie-Comisit, where now learning that we have a very high population of newcomers. So just wondering if there's a course or a module that teachers are going to be taking about learning how to better educate the newcomers that may be coming into their classrooms, especially surrounding math, English, science, and really any subject that could be difficult to grasp.
So we do have, our team of 8 itinerant teachers, part of their role is supporting classroom teachers. So their role is also to act as sort of consultants with those teachers and provide them best practices and strategies. There is a specific additional qualification course that teachers can take, but as a system resource, we provide those teachers to work with their colleagues. So if they have specific questions about a student's needs or resources that would be applicable. And what we do is when we do our assessments with students, depending on their level of English proficiency, they may qualify for direct support. So some of those students may work directly with the English language teacher. So for math, for example, if the math teacher knows that they're going to be doing, and I apologize, I'm an elementary teacher, so they're doing triangles in 3 weeks, then the English language teacher might work for the next 2 weeks on isosceles, scaling, angle, so getting all that sort of higher level vocabulary prepared. So it's sort of a two-tiered system where the English language teacher itinerant might provide direct support, but would also act in consultation with that classroom teacher to provide support for those students as well. So I hope that answers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. And then my second part of the question is just surrounding social working. So I know at a lot of different schools, they have specific Indigenous school support workers for Indigenous students. So I was wondering if there's a social worker that may be added either at the Welcoming Center or at individual schools about social working for international or newcomer students.
So every school does have a board social worker. So the newcomer students would have access to that social worker as well. And part of the settlement worker in schools, the Swiss workers' work, is to support, they're not social workers, but they do connect community agencies and really support the community connections that are sometimes required that we may not understand. So for example, a faith-based organization that has been established in Sudbury for a while, and a new family arrives and isn't aware of that, for example. So there's different layers of support, but certainly the social workers that are already in schools serve everybody, including our new students.
Thank you very much for the both of you.
Trustee McCauley.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Thank you both very much for the presentation. It's indeed enlightening. My question evolves more around structure and around perhaps building on what Trustee Gibson was talking about with regards to funding, costing, et cetera. And I'm going to lean back on where the federal government is now when it comes to immigration, because that's kind of a wild card that nobody really knows where it's going to fall down. And while we're trying to set up programs that reflect perhaps the demographics today, the demographics tomorrow may be quite different based on the role that the government's going to be putting in place, especially now when we're in such a volatile political climate. Do we take that into consideration, and is there a way that we can develop some kind of a safety net around that?
I think what you might be referring to, sir, the recent announcements from the IRCC around the changes to the number of study permits that are being issued, the number of permanent residents. Actually, it's more temporary working permits that have been in the news recently. Yes, there's definitely been some change. It's a hot political topic. I would say that the way the Welcome Center has been established is brilliant. Thank you so much to Superintendent Guilbeault, who's really supported this initiative as well, as it is in an existing space that has skeletal staff, but it's still managing to do great work. So if there is a shift in our demographics, we can respond accordingly. What we don't know is, of course, what happens with global conflict. And global conflict often sees refugees and refugee claimants, asylum seekers, convention refugees coming to this country, and that's hard to predict. And you know, I'm expecting, you know, in speaking to the YMCA, the staff there that deal with immigration every day, another group of folks who may land in Toronto and find themselves here, and it's really hard to predict that. So there's two aspects to this work. That's the federal government's policies and the human rights cases that we deal with as well, or the human, not human rights, but the war-torn conflict, sometimes climate crises that drive refugees to come through the borders. Does that answer your question?
Well, it does, and I don't mean to put you on the spot with that kind of a question, because it's really a very gray area. But what I'm more concerned about around that is that what opportunities are there for governments to take accountability and to project what may be happening, that they can put those projections back to us.
Right.
So that we as a board can make decisions based on some kind of information. It doesn't have to be exact, because it can't be exact, but it could be at least some way. And do they invite that kind of participation from us? I don't suspect they do, but maybe it's something that we might want to, as a board, project towards the government, that they undertake that kind of a study. and I'm no expert by any means, but I do know that trying to put that kind of a structure together, we as a board can, with people like yourselves, develop some kind of a strategy that we could put to government representatives to say, this is what we're anticipating. And can you help to offset that for the good of the students and the good of the board?
That would be so nice, wouldn't it? And unfortunately, my long arm only extends to the Ministry of Education's policies and procedures. So, but I will say that there is conversation at the local government level. The Local Immigration Partnership Board invites membership from all over the community, including the school boards. And I'm in the past have participated in that, and there is that. It's really helpful for us because we get a lens on what we may see coming, and there are some lobbying efforts there in terms of what information can be shared with us and how can we, as a community, prepare for changes that happen one way or another with immigration. In terms of the Ministry of Education's involvement in those conversations, they follow IRCC, and for example, with the Ukrainian conflict, the Russia and Ukraine war, we were advised or directed to, which is a good thing, to make sure that we registered students from Ukraine who were arriving on Canadian soil under a special provision called the CUAET, or the Canadian Ukrainian Authorization for Temporary Travel. And they, that was a Ministry of Education direction taken from IRCC. So the ministries do talk to each other sometimes, not very often.
Well, thank you very much for that, and I didn't mean to throw a wrench into everything.
It's a good question.
It's a big area and a big problem, and you're handling it extremely well. And I don't think that we really want to put any more on your plate than what you're doing now. But I think as it moves to different areas within the structure, if you will, from our board to whatever, then there's maybe something that we can do. And when we have Trustee Cosmerly here, that's very good at getting things going at the provincial level to begin with, and I know she'd just like to take on another task. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee McCauley. Any further questions? Trustee Clement.
Very quickly, thank you very much. Great presentation. When I was chair, I had a couple of talks with Judy Noble before she retired, and this is where maybe I can use it. It was Bella Rabi had come here and was really pushing us to bring in a welcome center. I think Sudbury hadn't even had anything yet with all the people that were coming in, and now that's all changed. The government's finally starting to put money in there, and thanks to Superintendent McNamara and Dan and Mel, this is a really great program that we absolutely need. So if you reverse that and you think about if you were a new parent and you had some young kids and you went to China, how scared the kids would be. So this is a really good program. My question would be is, they get into this program, when are they then introduced into school, or are they introduced to school right away?
Do you want to talk about that one? Well, maybe let's share. So the advice from every expert regarding newcomers to school, whether refugees or work permits or study permits, permanent residents, is to get students in school right away. So we really try to do that. And I have not come upon, in my experience in this work, a situation where a family hasn't wanted that. So that doesn't mean that there's not some adjustment period, of course, and that's why that two-step registration process through the Welcome Center is that extra layer of support, so we can really provide what Dan and I call a soft landing for everybody, and make sure that their first experience in this school is a very good one from the minute they walk in the front door. So, so we don't delay. We don't delay.
Because,
Yeah.
just a quick one, because I had heard, I don't know where, maybe I read it, was someplace where this young child was always so scared, and it was language. Until she was introduced to that language where she finally felt comfortable.
No, and that's definitely, and as Principal Bertrand spoke to, we know that the sooner students are in school and are sort of acclimated to that environment, and part of the role of the Welcome Center is making sure that we're swinging support into play as fast as we can. So because we're sort of having that first step, that first introduction with the family, we're able to get our teaching staff informed quickly, make sure that when they get to the school, they're ready to be assessed and supported. So the intent is really to understand what the needs of the student are and make sure that those schools are prepared to receive them in a way that's going to be comfortable for those students. And again, having the community supports available right at the Welcome Center, along with the educational supports, we feel really does sort of soften that landing in the school.
Thank you much.
I would also add that that Mr. Principal Crozier said something really important earlier about not having to master the English language to feel good about being in school, and we've changed a lot in you know the years that I've been a teacher about the the value of the first language. And when we communicate that to families, like today we said to this family, it's okay not to be, they apologized all the time for their English being poor, and I'm saying your English is just excellent. Please don't apologize for that. And we really reframe that that deficit thinking to an asset conversation about, look at all of the wonderful things you're going to bring to your new school, all the things that you can share. And when we do that work, then the feeling of fear is minimized. Yeah.
Any further comments? Well, seeing none, so obviously this has been a wonderful presentation and very engaged with the trustees and stuff tonight. I have a few comments, and I hope I don't get too scattered in this, but you know, I've been around the educational system here in Sudbury for a number of years, and wow, have things changed in those 30-odd some years. And I've been really lucky to be involved with some of the new communities in Sudbury. I think of the Bengali community that I've been in touch with very closely, with the East Indian community, but I have a particular affinity for the Nigerian community because they're such great folks, and they actually refer to me as the big white guy that comes and dances at their barbecues and so on and so forth. So it's really, really kind of cool. The message that I'm hearing from the communities are, we need housing, we need health care, we need education. And they really want to become part of our community, and they love being in Sudbury. They feel so welcome in this community. They want to stay here. The Nigerian community always say we are good hosts and we are good guests. So with that in mind, there's some really neat things. Mel, I sort of hit with you with the emotional level because I was sitting at a Nigerian barbecue not too long ago where they sang the national anthem of Canada and the national anthem of Nigeria with the same pride. And it's a really, really moving event to see. So thank you for all the work. I mean, it's fantastic. But I do have a question. My question is this. I'm not sure how we staff or fund the Welcome Center. So could you please sort of just give me a little bit of flavor on that? Because my sense is a lot of the staffing is coming because of the passion of you two.
You think? Maybe. No. This has been a long conversation about what can we do responsibly to support families who are coming in a way that is economically, sustainable and responsible, and that's where Superintendent Guilbeault has really been instrumental in having these conversations about the space that we used is it's free. We already had it, right? Yes, we Principal Crozier and I are able to support the work for sure. We do have a paid part-time admin assistant who is a treasure, and that the registration funds that come from students who are pupils of the board. Right, these are the students we're talking about here. There are 149 of those students walk through our door in 5 weeks. So You know, I think that's a reasonable expense, and everything else is, it's conversations. Those don't cost, that level of support doesn't cost anything but our time, and we're so happy to give it. So, you know, it's a small operation, but it's awesome, and you should come visit.
I am
Yeah.
absolutely plan on doing that. Clearly the passion that you have is fantastic. It's so moving. I want to say thanks again from all of us. I want to leave you with a quick story of my dear friend Vine, who's from the Nigerian community. And he called me up about 3 weeks ago. He says, David, I need to come and see you. I had no idea what it is. So he pulls up to my place and he comes with an envelope and he says, I have my PR. I just wanted you to be the first person to know. So these are the impacts that we are making on newcomers in our community. So I just wanted to say thank you very much once again, and a great presentation.
Thank you.
Well, after that wonderful bit of news, we'll continue with our agenda. So we're on to section D of the agenda, and it's a report from closed meeting of the board. We have none for tonight. So we'll move to section E, which is old business. And we have 3 sets of previous minutes that we need to deal with this evening. So I'll need a mover and seconder for the first motion that the minutes of the special board meeting held on Monday, August the 26th, 2004 be approved. And that's moved by
I'll move it.
Trustee McCauley and seconded by Trustee Corbier-Addison. Any questions, comments, or omissions? Seeing none, we'll move to the poll vote. Director?
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison,
In favor.
Trustee Farrell,
In favor?
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor?
Trustee Cosmely,
In favor?
Trustee McCauley,
Trustee McCauley?
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear McCauley. I heard something else. Approved.
Student Trustee Newtstein,
In favor.
Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
Motion's carried.
Thank you very much, Director. Our second motion is, I'll need a mover and a seconder, that the minutes of the regular board meeting held on Tuesday, August 27, 2004 be approved. And moved by Trustee Cosmerly and seconded by Trustee Hunda. Any errors or omissions or corrections? Seeing none, we'll move to the poll vote. Go ahead, Director.
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison,
In favor.
Trustee Farrell,
In favor?
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor?
Trustee Cosmely,
In favor?
Trustee McCauley,
In favor.
Student Trustee Newtstein,
In favor.
Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. And our third motion under previous minutes is that the minutes, I'll need a mover and seconder, that the minutes of the special board meeting held on Monday, September the 10th, 2004 be approved. And that's moved by Trustee McCauley and seconded by Trustee Clement. Any errors or omissions or questions? Seeing none, we'll move to the poll vote. Director, go ahead.
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison,
In favor.
Trustee Farrell,
In favor?
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor?
Trustee Cosmely,
In favor?
Trustee McCauley,
In favor.
Student Trustee Newtstein,
In favor.
Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
The motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. Moving to reports and recommendations from board committees. We have a report, comments from the Audit Committee, and I'll turn the mic over to Superintendent Gilbo to give us a brief update. Go ahead, Superintendent.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. I believe everybody has in their package a board report detailing the external audit plan for the 23-24 year end. Yesterday at the September 23rd Audit Committee meeting, Derek D'Angelo of KPMG presented the report detailing our external audit, again for the 23-24 year ending August 31st. Similar to past years, the report references the requirements set out by the Ministry of Education for approval. It also outlines the specific areas of focus for the audit, identifying key risk areas in accordance with ministry regulations. And with that, I'll pass back to you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Any questions for Superintendent Gilbo? Seeing none, we have a motion. We'll need a mover and a seconder that the 2023-2024 external audit plan be approved as recommended by the audit committee. Moved by, I see Trustee Hunda moving that. And seconded by Trustee Corber-Addison. Okay, we will go for the roll call vote. Thank you.
Trustee Clement,
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison,
In favor.
Trustee Farrell,
In favor.
Trustee Gibson,
In favor.
Trustee Hunda,
In favor?
Trustee Cosmerly,
In favor.
Trustee McCauley,
In favor.
Student Trustee Newstein,
In favor.
Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
Carried.
Thank you, Director. Moving to Section F, new business, and we'll turn it over to Director Bourget to give us the 2024-2025 school year update. Go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. Trustees, good evening. I'd like to begin our update this evening by thanking our principals, vice principals, teachers, and support staff for creating warm and welcoming environments for students. We encourage connections right from the start to set the tone for a great school year. Creating positive school cultures where students feel safe and supported establishes a solid foundation for student success. Rainbow District School Board's Adult Day School, located at Sudbury Secondary School, offers free high school credit courses for adult learners. This is for students who are 21 years of age or older. Several options are available to students, including credit courses, blending individualized, teacher-led, and e-learning formats of instruction. Prior learning, assessment, and recognition, sometimes known as PLAR, and mature student evaluations, combined with formal evaluation and credit granting processes for mature students, including an adult cooperative education program that grants credits in conjunction with on-the-job work experience and a dual credit program in partnership with Cambrian College. These learning opportunities are offered on a continuous intake basis from September until June, and this means that our learners can register at any time. Registrations are also ongoing at the Nswakamok Alternative School. Indigenous learners 17 years of age and older can earn credits towards their high school diploma. Course material is presented through an Indigenous lens, with credits possible via e-learning, cooperative education, the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, prior learning assessment and recognition, and hands-on learning. Holistic, cultural, and land-based activities meets the needs of our Indigenous learners, and Swakamok is presented in partnership with the Native Friendship Center. We also invite young people between the ages of 18 to 21 who have left school to return and register at Berrydown College. We know that some students thrive in an alternative setting, which is exactly what Berrydown College provides. Berrydown College has celebrated many success stories since its inception in 2011. Students who have fallen behind in school for certain circumstances that may not have been ideal at the time can now finish courses required to gain a sense of renewed hope and optimism and proceed towards graduation. So we'll just take a moment to listen to recent graduate Lara Thompson, who spoke to CBC Radio, and you will hear the emotion in her voice.
The teachers have taught me so much besides just academics. They've taught me confidence, kindness. They've taught me enthusiasm. I mean, I love biology. I never thought I'd love biology. And it was just such a welcoming environment. I mean, it was so easy to want to graduate, to want to do better. Everyone wanted you to do better.
So Berrydown College, as you know, is located at Cambrian College, and it supports students in achieving an Ontario secondary school diploma through smaller class sizes, individualized instruction, and flexible timetables. Dual credits can be applied towards a secondary school diploma and or post-secondary education, including apprenticeship certifications. Students can also earn paid cooperative education credits, which provide hands-on experience in the workplace. And as always, more information about these wonderful programs is available on our board website. In other areas, our environmental challenges kicked off last week with bike, walk, and roll to school, leading up to a car-free day on Friday, September 20th, and International Walk to School Month in October. The challenge combined sustainability with physical activity. Biking, walking, and rolling to school encourages students to move in the great fresh outdoors while reducing our overall carbon footprint. Students always need to remember, though, to put safety first, to wear a helmet, and use appropriate protective gear. Algonquin Road Public School put a special spin on its green activities, billing them as walk, cycle, or carpool week to promote healthy habits and protect the environment and reduce traffic congestion. A morning walk helps kids stay active, energized, and ready to learn. Riding a bike is fun, great exercise, and also reduces air pollution. And carpooling lowers our carbon footprint while saving time and money. And in order to promote safety, Algonquin Road Public School hosted a bike tune-up station before the start of school last week. Teacher Joe Lonsdale and grade 6 students pumped up tires and oiled chains before the start of classes. Students are learning how to ride a bike safely by maintaining their bikes, wearing a helmet, and following the rules of the road. Educating students on how to care for their bikes will make them more confident riders. Also, to kick off the school year, schools were invited to create an eco-code to reaffirm their commitment to environmental education and sustainability. Indigenous education also encouraged our students and teachers to reinforce the principles of the 7 grandfathers in the development of their eco-code. Rainbow District School Board was one of only 5 school boards in all of Canada to have had all of its schools eco-certified schools for the 2023-24 school year. Eco schools provide benchmarks for environmental learning and action in Canada, instilling in students the proficiencies, perspectives, and practices to help them become environmentally responsible citizens inside and outside the classroom. Certification recognizes achievement in 6 key areas: ecological literacy, energy conservation, environmental stewardship, school ground greening, teamwork and leadership, and waste minimalization. We can all be very proud of our students and our staff for their leadership in addressing climate change. And here's a quote from the co-executive director of Eco Schools Canada. He says, by certifying 100% of their schools, Rainbow District School Board has established a culture of conservation and respect for the environment across their school network and can take pride in being a sustainability leader in both Canada and worldwide. In October, staff and students in Rainbow Schools will be challenged to participate in Take Me Outside Day and Waste Reduction Week. The monthly environmental challenges, which include an Indigenous component, have proven to be an effective way to broaden the scope of education and environmental action. Through an Anishinaabe perspective, students have the opportunity to experience and understand profound customs and teachings to place an even greater value on the protection of our planet, our home, Mother Earth, Shikagmakwe. Relevant teachings enforces appropriate action to support the environmental focus of the month. For example, Manitoulin Secondary School harvested vegetables this fall. We congratulate the Share Go Green team for this leadership and all students in Manitoulin who maintain the school gardens. This is another example of how schools are focusing on sustainability. Churchill Public School kicked off the school year with an assembly about spreading kindness. As you know, all of our schools now offer the Dare to Care program in kindergarten to grade 9. With modules for students, professional learning for staff, and resources for parents and guardians, Dare to Care engages the entire school community in contributing to warm and welcoming school environments where students feel a strong sense of belonging and connection. Students learn about the importance of being kind, the difference between bullying and mean moments, how to ask for help, and how to stand up for yourself and for others. Prevention and intervention strategies focus on social emotional learning with an emphasis on empathy. Through the program, everyone gains a deeper understanding and, more importantly, develops tools to create a very caring school community. And speaking of kindness, a student from Larchwood Public School and her family held a fundraiser to support the school community. With funds raised, they donated reusable lunch kits to students. Thank you for spreading kindness, Stella Desbiens. You are leading by example. Stella is in grade 1, and hats off to Stella and her mom, Jody. Greater Sudbury Police Services school resource officers proudly wore pink for Stand Up Against Bullying Day alongside staff and students in Rainbow Schools. Students and staff were encouraged to host activities to increase awareness and support action. Constables Howard and LeCavier spoke to students about bullying and encouraged others to show compassion, kindness, and respect towards others. They also made time for a quick game on the court in the spirit of friendly competition and connection. We extend our very special thanks to Greater Sudbury Police Service for their efforts in making this important back-to-school tradition so special with us. LaSalle Elementary School has been selected to participate in the Indigo Love of Reading Foundation's annual Adopt a School fundraising program. Every dollar donated from September 13th to October 6th at Indigo on the Kingsway and online through the Love of Reading Foundation will go towards the purchase of books in English and French at a very generous discount. Principal Kristen Pichette says her students love to read at school and at home. Inspiring a love of reading in students enables them to develop strong literacy skills, which is the foundation for all learning. She also says, reading opens the doors to a world of adventure, discovery, and knowledge. Diversity in books builds cultural understanding and fosters empathy. Reading is engaging, educational, and entertaining. And as we can see in this photo, it's also very relaxing. Rainbow District School Board joins with LaSalle Elementary School in thanking Indigo and all donors for supporting our students to become strong readers. Lockerbie Composite School also held its first Integration Day following a recent refresh of the STEP program. Grade 9 students worked diligently and cooperatively on a design build challenge and a showcase of teamwork across Viking houses. Wellness Wednesdays are now underway at Barrydown College. Wellness Wednesdays engage students in activities and experiential learning opportunities in the arts, environment, and nature. Past examples include making essential oils, enjoying nature walks, making bird feeders, and visiting Chicago McQuay Health Centers. Students also have a hot lunch, and these activities bring students together in a safe space, and this has become a very much a weekly highlight each week that students really enjoy. Throughout September and October, students in Rainbow Schools will once again put their feet to the pavement in support of the Terry Fox Foundation. Terry Fox runs are held annually in communities across Canada to raise funds for cancer research. And as you know, Rainbow Schools have raised over $1 million over the years. Here we have a photo of Brady Perot, a student from Northeastern Elementary School who canvassed the community last year and collected over $500 in honor of Vice Principal Lisa Puttister. Students in the intensive sport classes at Westmount Public School participated in the first ever sensory walk in celebration of Terry Fox. A very creative and amazing event, I will tell you. And at LaSalle, they hosted their annual Sisu Family Walk Saturday, September 21st to raise funds for fitness at Finlandia Village. And you also see very special guests there, Trustee Macaulay. The fundraiser kicked off at the school carnival on Thursday, September 19th, followed by a community canvas in the evening. And here's a quick glimpse of what went on. I have to say my favorite activity is the old-fashioned tug-of-war in that sequence, but I'm getting old school, I guess. Rainbow District School Board joins with LaSalle Secondary School in extending a sincere thank you to students, staff, families, and community members for supporting the health and wellness of seniors. LaSalle is also most appreciative of Slingchoker Manufacturing for their continued support of this very worthwhile initiative. Now in its 7th year, the walk has raised more than $150,000 for fitness equipment, outdoor trails, and signage, as well as a gardening project at Finlandia, and that's not including this year's total, which has already passed $8,500. Congratulations, Lancers. In other news, certificates of internship were presented to the third group of Project Search HSN participants during a signing ceremony at Health Sciences North yesterday. A transition to work program that combines classroom instruction with hands-on learning. Project Search HSN helps students in their final year of high school develop essential skills for employment. Devin Boucher, an alumni of the inaugural group of Project Search interns, has been working at Health Sciences North for a year and a half and he attended the signing ceremony to talk about his experience. Devin is also speaking alongside Special Education Coordinator Stephen Marco, and I'm pleased to share a short video clip with you.
My first internship was environmental services, and I sanitized the frequently touched surfaces and folded isolation gowns. Second one, second placement. I went on building services. I cleaned up cigarette butts, salted walkways, and shoveled sidewalks. As well as my third placement, I made a new friend, and his name was John. And we go camping, and I worked on wheelchairs and stuff like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you had a lot of great experiences. You learned a lot of new skills aside from all the learning that. What were the other benefits that you had from being part of Project Search?
The benefits I had was feeling like I was part of the team, and being more social was the best part. And not only that, I met new people, pretty good people. And so, yeah, everyone was pretty cool. I've been working for a year and a half, and it's been going strong. I don't know, I've been doing pretty good. I just like compact cardboard and just enjoy myself. Feel part of the team. Also, a friend I met in Project Search, he taught me to drive. If it wasn't for this opportunity, I either would have been at home, hungry, no money, and yeah, I'm here, so I'm working hard. It's perfect.
Project Search is a very valuable learning experience, and Devin is part of a team delivering valuable services and making a contribution at Health Sciences North. We wish to extend sincere thanks to March of Dimes Canada, Health Sciences North, and the City of Greater Sudbury for supporting this important opportunity for our students in Rainbow Schools as we embrace the joy of what's possible. And you see a quote there from Len Baker, President and CEO of March of Dimes Canada. Sudbury Secondary School will celebrate diversity during its second annual multicultural fair tomorrow, September 25th, starting at 11 a.m. The entire school community will gather outdoors for various activities, including henna art, rock painting, cricket, walking, dancing, and karaoke. Food will also be available for purchase. Our next professional activity day will be this Friday, September 27th. The focus will be on literacy, mathematics, student achievement plans, and analysis of data for school improvement planning. Parents and guardians who have children in Rainbow Schools can learn more about PA Days by visiting the board website. Detailed information is posted in the parent section. And trustees, flags will fly at half-mast on Monday, September 30th, as we mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The day honors the children who never returned home and the survivors of residential schools. We've had the pleasure of hosting a sunrise ceremony at the Center for Education over the past few years. This year, the sunrise ceremony will be held at Manitoulin Secondary School at 6:45 a.m. on Monday, and everyone is welcome. Some 1,800 students in grades 6 to 12 from Rainbow Schools will participate in an engaging and interactive career fair with a focus on the skilled trades. Hosted by the Ministry of Labor, Immigration, Training, and Skills Development, the Level Up Fair is open to students from Rainbow Schools on Wednesday, October 2nd from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sudbury Arena. The fair will be open to the public from 3 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and we certainly encourage our parents and guardians to take advantage of this wonderful opportunity to learn more about careers for their children in the trades. Job-ready organizations, unions, colleges, and industry employers will be in attendance. And please mark your calendar. The annual general meeting of the Parent Involvement Committee, PIC, will be held on Tuesday, October 15th at 6 p.m. in the library at Sudbury Secondary School. School council members who are interested in serving on PIC are invited to advise their principal. Following the annual general meeting, I will have an opportunity to welcome our parents and guardians at 7 p.m. And I do look forward to sharing with our parents and families and guardians a little bit more about our priorities, specifically how children can connect, our parents can connect with the school to support their child's education. After that, from 7:30 to 8:30, parents will be able to attend 2 workshops to learn about how they can support what's happening in the classroom, and these carousels will focus on math, reading, mental health, and more. A pasta dinner is planned for 6 to 7 p.m., and we encourage all parents and guardians to attend. The evening is being billed by our creative staff as Pasta Parents, Popcorn, and Potential, brought to you by PIC. The welcome will be streamed, and workshops are planned for Espanola and Manitoulin to engage parents in all of our schools. And with that, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to provide this update. I'll turn it back to you, Chair Farrell.
Thank you, Director Borzett. Any questions for our director? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Director, once again. Sorry, I missed you, Trustee Gibson. Go right ahead.
Sorry, I was a little late. I was just wondering if you had any information about how the new cell phone policy was going, whether just a brief sort of general update.
Through you, Chair Farrell, I can tell you that our cell phone policy has been embraced by our staff and students. We've been in schools on Wednesdays and Thursdays, as you know, as part of our restructuring. And I can't tell you how proud I am of our students who have, seen the value in this. Our teaching staff has said in many cases it's a game changer in terms of student engagement and focus. And I'd say probably since I've been asked the question, I'd like to say thank you to our students for their maturity and their understanding, our staff for their leadership, and our parents and guardians for their support, because I think what we've done is create a more focused, a less distracted learning environment where students can be the best version of themselves as academic learners. You're welcome.
Thank you. We'll go to Trustee Cosmerly now. No, I thought you had a question. Okay. Anybody else for the director? Didn't want to jump the gun. I was a little quick last time there, so. Okay, thank you, Director. Director, once again. Our next under new business are the Ontario Public School Board Association fees. So that's part of your package. So we have a motion, and we'll need a mover and a seconder, that the 2024-2025 membership fees in the Ontario Public School Board Association be approved. And we're going to move by Trustee Cosmerly. We need a seconder for that. Seconded by Trustee Hunda. Any questions? Go ahead.
Just one comment. That's the new rate is about just over $1,000 more than last year's rate.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmerly. Anything further? Seeing none, we will do the poll vote. Director?
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison?
In favor.
Trustee Farrell?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee McCauley?
In favor.
Student Trustee Nuchtai?
In favor.
And Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. Our next order of business is levying education tax bylaw. So I'll turn the mic over to Superintendent Guilbeault. Just give us a brief background on this. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. This bylaw, numbered 2024-02, was also part of the package received with tonight's agenda and is the same as in previous years. It is a requirement within the Education Act that this is sent to the Ministry prior to the end of the calendar year. It is initiated when we receive notice from the Ministry of Finance, who are responsible for collecting education taxes from the unorganized townships and subsequently remitting them to the board as levied by the Ministry of Education. And therefore, we have the motion.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent. So the motion that we have will need a mover and a seconder that the levying education taxes for the 2024 bylaw as attached be deemed to have been read 3 times and approved. Moved by Trustee McCauley and seconded by Trustee Hunda. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll call the poll vote.
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison?
In favor.
Trustee Farrell?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor.
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee McCauley?
In favor.
Student Trustee Nuchtai?
In favor.
And Student Trustee Wilson-Ziegel.
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. Next order of business is various capital project update, and we'll turn to Superintendent Guilbeault to give us an update on capital.
Thank you again, Chair Farrell. This evening, it is my pleasure to present updates on the planned capital projects we presented to you earlier in the year. Beginning towards the end of the school year and throughout the summer, our staff has worked tirelessly to complete a large number of projects simultaneously. I would like to start by taking this opportunity to thank Sandy Ackroyd and Paulo Baradelli for their tremendous efforts in coordinating all of these projects, ensuring that all critical work was completed before our students returned in September. I would like to extend that gratitude to Natalie Musso, Manager of Facilities, Craig O'Kane and his entire staff of tradespeople, our facility supervisors and the support staff in the facilities department, all of which play critical roles in ensuring these projects are completed successfully. On that note, I'd like to share some pictures of the great work that was done around our facilities this summer. We will start with Redwood Acres, which saw a complete redesign of their parking lot and bus lay-by area. As you may be aware, there were sections of the parking lot that would pool water during wet weather conditions, and the bus drop-off area was quite congested during drop-off and pickup times. You'll see here on this next slide that the new design was the parking area in, the new design has the parking area in a separate space away from the bus lay-by area. The new design allows buses a clear laneway in the morning and afternoon and a new drop-off space at the entrance for safe arrival and departure. This includes marked walkways for those coming from the staff parking lot. At Princess Anne, we have expanded the parking lot on the north side of the property as pictured here. The additional spaces will help relieve the congestion caused by vehicles that often park alongside of the bus lane, allowing for safer travel. The parking lot surrounding the LaSalle campus was also completed this summer. This includes the parking lot in front of the Lancer Dome, wrapping all the way around to the parking in front of the secondary school. The bus lane has been relocated and widened for closer drop-off and pickup, specifically towards the new elementary school. The entrance and exit for the secondary school parking is now also separate from this bus lane, so the traffic flows without issue. You'll see here the parking area in front of the daycare with the roundabout drop-off area, and also across Lamott Street, the supplementary parking area that is still under construction, but we hope to have finished before the winter. Staying on the LaSalle campus, pictured here is the completed yard space behind the school, which now includes a new basketball court and play structure. The football field has also been completed on the other side of the fenced-in area adjacent to the dome. At Gene Hansen Public School, we have also expanded the parking area to increase capacity and help with the parking coordination in front of the school. Work on the playground is ongoing as the equipment unfortunately came in later than expected. Work has begun this week and should be completed sometime in mid-October. At Chelmsford Valley District Composite School, we completed work on the play area in the courtyard where we were having drainage issues due to its location and where we found the wood chips clogging the filters. We are also continuing to work with engineers in the municipality to address drainage issues we have in the spring on the Cote Street Yard. Our hope is to have a project in place this year to address that. Work was completed at Valley View Public School to create several different play areas in the playground behind the school. This includes a variety of play structures and a walking path to navigate through the yard, going all the way to the very back where students can now access the soccer field with new nets installed. At the old ABLS site, we have completed work on the parking lot across from the Espanola High School entrance. Fenced in behind that parking area, work was completed on a new basketball court and soccer field with installed nets. Work on the community garden will commence in the spring. A design concept was finalized towards the end of last school year based on consultation with our community and Indigenous partners. At Algonquin, we have installed a new modular unit to assist with ongoing accommodation pressures at the school. The displaced basketball court was relocated to the front schoolyard with brand new nets and surfacing. Work was completed this summer on a new entrance at R.L. Beatty. This work became necessary based on the deteriorating condition of the entrance walkway and safety concerns with the previous bus loading area. This new area allows for a more organized process for safe arrival and departure and presents a large entrance for staff and students alike. At Larchwood Public School, a number of initiatives were completed during this summer. This includes electrical work and the installation of new boilers. Also, a fence surrounding the play area in the back to assist with student safety during outdoor breaks. The interior of the school saw installation of new lockers, and new windows are currently being installed in all of the classrooms. At Central Manitoulin, renovations to the student washroom facilities pictured here were completed, and new lockers were installed throughout the school. Similarly, at Asiganak Public School, upgrades were made to the washroom facilities, and new lockers were also installed. In addition to the completion of remaining ventilation work, a revitalization of the ISP room was undertaken to remove an elevated portion of the room that posed safety concerns. The room now functions as a larger space, and the food prep area was moved across the hall, replacing a seldom used washroom facility. The picture here illustrates the makeover of that new space, which makes for better all-over use of that area of the school. Several projects took place at R.H. Murray, including work to put in a new electric distribution panel, replace boilers, and the placement of 2 sheds to provide additional storage so that classroom space can be better used to accommodate a growing population within the school. A variety of work also took place over the summer at C.C. McLean. This included the replacement of boilers and new ventilation throughout the school, including a new rooftop unit. Propane tanks were relocated within a fenced-in area, and a new basketball court was relocated within the yard. Some work is ongoing where we are rebricking sections of the school that required masonry work on the exterior of the building. Over the summer, we replaced 2 portions of the roof over Alexander Public School gym, which satisfies the last of our ministry requirements as it relates to the RAC roof concerns, and that would be the reinforced autoclave aerated concrete or CIPREX roof. The entire roof area was removed, as seen here, and replaced, protecting the nice new gym floors that were installed last year. We are currently completing the work in 2 shops within Manitoulin Secondary School. This includes the work to accommodate the new machinery that was provided through SHISM and CTMA, and the work done in the auto shop to clear the floor drains and oil water separator. A new second lift has also been ordered for the shop and will be installed this fall. At Lively District Secondary School, we completed work to convert a science lab into a more functional classroom, similar to a project we did at Northeastern last year. You also see pictured here new floors that were installed and a redesigned entrance in front of the main office. At Lockerbie Composite, we are in the midst of modernizing several rooms, including the one pictured here, which is Shop 153. In this room, we also created access to an adjacent room utilized for robotics. Across the hall, Shop 150 has work ongoing that is expected to be completed in November. At the far end of the school, with access through the back, excuse me, we have completed work in conjunction with the municipality on the childcare space that has been relocated from McLeod. This has created additional space at McLeod to address accommodation pressures and provided a much-needed increase in childcare spaces for this area of town. As you are aware, we received formal ministry approval on June 12th of this year to reopen Westmount as of the start of the 2024-25 school year. I cannot express enough how much incredible work was done to get this school ready for operation in an extremely short amount of time. The time constraints also meant it was difficult to secure contractors, so I'd like to acknowledge Craig O'Kane and our internal staff of carpenters, plumbers, and tradespeople that worked tirelessly to complete the work required. Here you will see pictures of the work done, including the expansion of the parking lot, new roofing, and a new walkway leading to the main entrance. The interior work was substantial, and on the next slide you will see some of that work done within the classrooms. 12 of them were done in total, and to construct a new accessible washroom with shower facilities and lift. A special thanks to Paolo Baradelli, Natalie Musso, Superintendent Washnock, and the special education team for all their assistance in accomplishing this challenging task. And finally, something you've already heard a lot about tonight was the work done at the far end of Sudbury Secondary School to accommodate our new Welcome Center. Sandy Ackroyd did a great job of adding this project to our already existing list and was able to complete this work in a couple of short months to help create this space that we are so proud of. There were several completed projects that I did not go over in this presentation, and they include a refurbishment of the existing outdoor shed at S. Geiger, accommodation work at Confederation for low vision students, further ventilation, electrical, and boiler work at C.R. Judd, Queen Elizabeth, and Sudbury Secondary School, additional lockers at McLeod, childcare and ventilation work at Little Current Public School, and ongoing design work at CVDCS, C.R. Judd, Manettville, and Lansdowne. We're also happy to announce that we have submitted 2 projects for ministry consideration in the Capital Priorities Program, one at Westmount and one at Lansdowne. The deadline was September 16th this year, which is about 5 weeks earlier than last year. We were extremely squeezed for time, but I'd like to thank Sandy, Paulo, and Natalie for their assistance in preparing the submissions, and we expect to hear back in March as per the ministry timelines. And now we move on to the projects that we will be considering for next summer. We have engaged in our normal process of asking for requests from administrators, reviewing VFA requirements, and assessing any safety or accommodation needs as we prepare our list of projects over the next several months. I thank you for your attention this evening, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Superintendent Gilbo. Any questions? Trustee Gibson, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Farah. Through you to Superintendent Gilbo. You mentioned it briefly, and I just wanted to get it a little more clearly regarding the RAC, the reinforced aerated concrete. So I heard you mention one school that we replaced a roof, so we have no other RAC anywhere else in our system, just to be clear?
Correct. Sorry, excuse me. Yes, through you, Chair. That is the last remaining school we had to do.
Further questions? Seeing none, just a quick comment. Lots of work. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, go ahead. Trustee Clement.
Thank you, Chair. Through you.
Going deaf and blind.
Superintendent Gilbo, great work in Espanola. They're using the field now, soccer, football, all this. That's really great to see. And the work that was done at La Salle, last time I saw, was a lot of dirt there, so that's really fixed up nicely. But the concern now, like you did mention the job now at Espanola, finishing the Peace Garden, all that won't be till the spring. I'm constantly getting phone calls about those 2 bricks of cement we took off the building, 1918 and something else. The concern is that they won't weather out there in another winter out there. And I even had a contractor who said, I'll bring it into my garage where there's heat. So I said, no, it's okay, our school will take care of that. But I have heard somebody said that we may have room in one of our shop rooms at Espanola High.
Through you, Chair Farrell, we have the 2 pieces stored. Sandy Aykroyd has taken care of that, so they are stored safely until we start the work in the spring.
They are stored? Well, I want that. Good, finally, thank you.
Super. Go ahead, Trustee Corby-Atterson.
Just wanted to, through you, Chair Farrell, to Superintendent Gilbo, that was an extraordinary amount of work in a short period of time to go through all of those developments in our schools. And thank you for all the developments on Manitoulin as well.
Thank you, Trustee Corby-Atterson. Nothing further? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Trustee Hunda.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. I just want to say thank you too, and I want to particularly say thank you to Sandy and Pablo. That's a lot of work, and it's really nice to get these reports and to see the culmination of all this work come to place. And I've seen a number of these projects during, and certainly am enjoying them after. I particularly thank you all for the the finishing of the daycare part at La Salle, since this old lady didn't like climbing hills for a week while I had to go in and out of the door. So it's really nice to be able to drive up. But all the work, and seriously, all the work is beautifully done. It's so nice to drive by the schools and see the children enjoying the spaces. And, you know, I really particularly took note of the designs for parental drop-off areas, for the school bus areas, and the parking areas. And it's just each and every one that's been redone is brilliant in design, and certainly makes it a lot less congested and a lot more safe areas for our kiddos. So I just want to thank everyone. I know how hard both Sandy and Pablo worked, and I just want to thank them and their teams for all that's done. And thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Trustee Hunda. And I don't think there's any other comments. I just wanted to echo the same thing. Thank you very much, Adam. The amount of work that is done on limiting dollars is very, very impressive. So thank you so much for the work that you've done. And all your team, of course, because we know that it's not just one person. It's a team of incredible people that get this work done. So thank you so much to all of them. So the next item on our agenda is the Ontario Public School Board Northern Regional Meeting. So that is being held in Thunder Bay on October 26th and 27th of 2024. Now, what I first request, are there any trustees that are interested in going to that? I'm going to put my name forward. I'm not sure if I can do it, but I will put my name forward. Trustee Gibson we have also. Anybody else? Trustee Cosmerly? So I'm just still waiting. Okay, so we have following trustees: Trustee Farrow, Trustee Gibson, and Trustee Cosmerly. And sorry, Trustee Hunda also?
Yeah, I would,
Thank you.
again, like to put my name forward to have it
Okay,
approved, and I would really do my best to go.
thank you. Okay, so we have a motion, we'll need a mover and a seconder, that the board approve the attendance of the following trustees at the 2024 Ontario Public School Board Association Northern Regional Meeting in Thunder Bay on October 26 and 27, 2004. That's Trustee Hunda, Trustee Farrow, Trustee Gibson, and Trustee Cosmerly. We'll need a mover for that, please. Moved by Trustee Corber-Addison and seconded by Trustee Gibson. And we'll do the poll vote, Director.
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison?
In favor.
Trustee Farrell?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor?
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee McCauley?
In favor?
Student Trustee Nuchtai?
In favor.
Student Trustee Wilson Ziegel? Motion.
In favor.
Thank you. The motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. Our next item in business is the Ontario Student Trustees Association, the OSTA Fall General Meeting. And we have a motion that the board approve the attendance of Student Trustee Nuchtai and Student Trustee Wilson Ziegel to the OSTA Fall General Meeting on November 7th to 10th, 2024 in Toronto. We moved by Trustee Clement and seconded by Trustee Hunda. Trustee Nuchtai or Trustee Wilson Ziegel, anything that you want to say about it before we go to the motion?
Nothing in particular. Thank you, trustees, for approving that. As mentioned in my introduction earlier, in August, I am a part of the Executive Council on the Ontario Student Trustee Association, and I serve as the chair of the Indigenous Student Trustees. So there's a lot of really exciting events that are going to be happening surrounding OSTA ACO's events, especially the fall general meetings are always such a pleasure, and I have the honor of hosting a personal development seminar at OSTA ACO this year with our chair of Truth and Reconciliation. So it's going to be an amazing event, and it always is.
Great, thank you, Trustee Nuchtai. So we'll go to the poll vote, please, Director. I think Trustee Hunda seconded the motion, yeah.
Right.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Trustee Clement?
In favor.
Trustee Corbier-Addison?
In favor.
Trustee Farrell?
In favor.
Trustee Gibson?
In favor.
Trustee Hunda?
In favor?
Trustee Cosmerly?
In favor.
Trustee McCauley?
In favor?
Student Trustee Nuchtai?
In favor.
Student Trustee Wilson Ziegel?
In favor.
Motion is carried.
Thank you, Director. Our next item in business is notice of absence. I have two regrets tonight, regrets from Trustee Dubosky and regrets from Trustee Dewar. That moves us on to our Director's remarks. Director Bourget, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. I will keep our remarks brief, as I know it's been a lengthy meeting, but I would like to say that we'd like to share our gratitude to our outstanding administrators, teachers, and educational support staff for their great work to get our school year off to such a fantastic start. I'd love to also share our appreciation to our students on a successful return to work, to school, and thank our parents and guardians for their ongoing support. There is some work to do well in school, so it works. I would also like to thank Superintendent Guilbeault and our facilities department for their incredible work over the summer, as you just saw in the various capital projects updates this evening. I will give you a quick enrollment update. It's not official. As you know, that's not official till the end of October. But in secondary, at this point, we have 4,937 students as of Friday, which is the total we had last year, officially at the end of October. And we are still registering students. So we've reached last year's total, and we are growing towards our predicted enrollment of 5,020. In elementary, we predicted 9,363 students. Currently, we're at 9,448, which is up by 85 over what we've predicted. Last year's total was 9,322, so we're up 126 over actual from last year. And you should know that additional staffing is in place in elementary schools. Starting today, to deal with that increase. Just to, again, to once again remind you that Exec Council visits schools each Wednesday and Thursday to connect with staff and students. This continues to be a priority for us, and we're so fortunate to be in schools and see all the wonderful things that are happening, and I hope to continue to share some brief highlights as the year progresses of some of the wonderful things that are going on. Fall athletics are underway, school clubs and activities are happening, and our students are benefiting from these activities. I did take the opportunity to watch some football games last week, and I do think the parents and guardians enjoyed the games as much or more as the athletes. I'd also like to quickly thank Hazel Fox Recollet and Nicole Nicholas for their leadership in making the sunrise ceremony on Manitoulin Island on Monday morning possible. I look forward to attending. And finally, I'd like to take this opportunity to express my sincere appreciation to all of you, our Board of Trustees, and all staff for their dedication and commitment to student learning and well-being. It is a privilege to serve the Board of Trustees, and our staff and your leadership and support is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any questions for our Director? Seeing none, we'll go on to our next item of business, other items, which is the Ontario Public School Board of Directors report. Trustee Cosmerly.
Thank you. I have a couple of things to raise tonight. I'm attending the OPSPA Board of Directors meeting this coming weekend in Toronto. This will be President Kathleen Woodcock's first full Board of Directors meeting in her new position, and I look forward to some good discussions and information sharing. OPSPA continues to discuss its concerns regarding the latest regulation changes to electronic meetings with ministry staff. OPSPA is also working with its legal counsel to develop 2 documents to help boards with these changes: an overview document to help boards better understand what's now expected of them, and a process document to help board chairs implement the 5 exemptions to in-person attendance at meetings. The OPSPA Indigenous Trustees Council, ITC, had an opportunity to meet with the new Minister of Education, Jill Dunlop, on August 22nd, and to share with her a number of their priorities, including advancement of the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action, core funding for Indigenous education, and concerns about Native language curriculum. As a member of ITC, Trustee Corbier Addison was present at this meeting. The Minister expressed her commitment to working with her staff and with ITC to support the learning needs of Indigenous students. There's still time to complete the Ministry's online survey on life skills training for students. This survey is intended to provide feedback to the government about the modernization of the home economics program. The survey closes at 5 o'clock on October 1st, and it's quite an interesting survey. Finally, here are some dates of interest. October 20th to 26th is Local Government Week. January 24th and 25th is the Public Education Symposium to be held at the Sheraton Centre in Toronto. And June 12th to 14th, 2025 is the OPSPA annual meeting to be held at Queen's Landing, Niagara-on-the-Lake. Stay tuned for more information from OPSPA about all of these events. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmerly. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll now move to our student trustees report. Trustee Nujitai.
Thank you, Chair Farrell. I'm going to begin with some brief updates from our most recent Student Senate meeting that took place on September 7th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. here in this boardroom. I was sitting where Director Farrell was, but I've moved down now. So here we had Superintendent McNamara, Trustee Clement, and Trustee Hunda present at the meeting, which is always a delight. And we had almost a full turnout of attendance, only 2 regrets, which was really exciting to see almost full participation of all of our senators, and it looks great for the upcoming year. We began with an icebreaker, which we played at Knights, Horses, and Cavaliers. I'll share you the explanation, but it was a very fun game, and I can already tell that the camaraderie of the entire Senate will be a great asset throughout all of our initiatives that we'll be planning this year. Next, we moved on to elections, where Trustee Wilson-Ziegel will be talking to you more about during her version of the report, and then we also organized the Get to Know Your School and the Future of Senate, which were 2 little icebreakers that we hosted at the Senate meeting to further explain different parts of the Senate that will be happening this year. And then as for some other projects that we started, we began our Truth and Reconciliation project, which the Student Senate will be releasing come October or September 30th. So we began with a brainstorm, and this included all of the senators pitching their ideas on what they would like the Student Senate to do for the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, or Insert Day, held on September 30th. So we ended up making a subcommittee to work on a script to release to all Rainbow schools, high school and elementary schools, which is now well on approval. Sent it to Superintendent McNamara and further. And we had also a subcommittee work with putting together a video for all of the senators to say what Truth and Reconciliation means to them, which will be posted on our RDSB Student Senate social media page and hopefully further onto the board website. That is my version of the report. I will pass it on to now my co-chair, Student Trustee Wilson Ziegel. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Nuchai. So good evening, everyone. Oh, here, I'll turn my camera on so you can see me. Hi, I'm sorry I can't be there with you guys in person. It started pouring rain as soon as I tried to leave the island. So I send my regrets. But I'm delighted to share some exciting updates and highlights from our recent activities and upcoming plans on the Student Senate. First, I wanted to talk to you about the Get to Know Your School activity that Trustee Nuchai and I organized for our first Student Senate meeting on September 9th. This interactive session was a tremendous success. We engaged our senators by having them write their ideas on how to connect with their school onto posters that were spread out around the room. These ideas covered various areas of your school, focusing on leadership within them, and ultimately led to a poster that encouraged them to think about their goals for Senate. This activity helped our senators reflect on their roles and get them ready for the year ahead. I'm also very pleased to announce that our executive council has been chosen. We have selected the following individuals for key positions. So treasurer is Athena Gravel from Manitoulin Secondary School. Our secretary is Ronan Beauchamp from Lockerbie Composite School. Media design coordinator is Leo Duncanson-Hales from Sudbury Secondary School. And our vice chair is Natalia Campo from Lockerbie Composite School. Looking ahead, we are gearing up for our annual Stand Up Speak Out conference. Planning for this significant event will start at our next meeting on October 7th at 5:30. Trustee Nuchai and I have drafted a tentative schedule outlining the tasks that need to be accomplished in the upcoming months to prepare for this conference. During our next meeting, we'll be focusing on discussing the theme and potential speakers for our conference. She and I will be booking the venue in the next few weeks to ensure everything is in place for a successful event. This has been the start of an exciting term, and I'm looking forward to working more with the Student Senate as the year continues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, student trustees. Are there any questions? Well, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Great job. You guys are really very active, and that's superb to see. Now we move on to trustees' remarks and questions. We have Trustee Clement, followed by Trustee McCauley.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I'd like to thank Tia and Alex attending that first Senate meeting. And I've been to a lot of Senate meetings with different students, and I have to say their commitment to the Senate, it was infectious to all the kids. It looked like they were all friends already. Usually it takes almost a year before we can get them all talking, but this was really, really great. So good luck for the new year. Also, I'd like to thank Trustee Gibson for bringing that up about cell phones, and thank you for your answer, Director. I've been wondering about that myself, about other schools, but I've been doing my own survey, going to my own school, talking to the staff, and they say it's been going great. But then I do my own sneaky one. And we have students working all over the town and then at the golf course, and I'll ask them. I don't tell them who I am, but I just say as a parent, I go, what do you think of the cell phone thing going? And they have some really interesting comments, especially the grade 9 students saying, I bumped into one at Canadian Tire, and she says, I waited to get to grade 9 so I could use my cell phone, and they do this. I'd like to give that guy a piece of my mind. I went, phew. I was gone. I didn't tell her who I was. So, but majority of the students, the senior students, are really enjoying this. I would have liked to have seen it gone a little farther, where we blocked the phone for the day. But so far, it seems to be going really well. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Clement. We'll go to Trustee McCauley.
Thank you very much, Chair. I never realized that Trustee Bob was so astute at undercover work, because I could have probably used him some time back. In any event, I'm pleased to follow up on what's already been largely reported tonight, but it's, again, I'm so proud of the schools. That's the highlight of my job, is going out to these schools. And I was at LaSalle Secondary School Thursday, September the 19th, and watched what Principal Christina Rivard-Goebel and her team had put together called the annual carnival. It was clear that the students and everybody there was just having a great time and cooperating together. And the carnival has a history going back to its inception, way back in the day of Principal Maureen McNamara. I say that tongue-in-cheek. I take my hat off to the efforts of our principals there and that have made this happen, and it is really something to see, and the hamburgers were delicious too. Keeps big guys like me coming back. Also, sticking with LaSalle Secondary School, I was pleased to attend LaSalle Secondary, where the school, in cooperation with Sling Choker, the Sisu Family Walk, raised funds and walked over 7 kilometers from the school to the Finlandia residence. And let me tell you, that morning was not a morning anybody wanted to go out and walk in, yet it was packed full of students and volunteers. I just can't get over how committed they are. And there were dignitaries attending the kickoff, but really, to me, being an old guy, a lot older than Maureen, Robert Esme, our Olympic gold medal recipient, was the keynote speaker. And he spoke to the students, and I remember that 1994 race, that relay where he was the leadoff runner. And Donovan Bailey brought up the end, but they won the gold. But he spoke to the students, and he spoke with such fervor. And he is, I didn't know that, but he is a LaSalle graduate. And so that was very impressive. And again, a big shout out to the principals, the staff who were there in numbers, and the volunteers to pull this off, along with whatever they do. Director, you are so blessed to have staff like that. You know, it's amazing. And I congratulate, like Maureen's sitting here right now, congratulate the work that they do. And that was just one of my schools I went to. Just wait till I get around to the rest of them.
Thank you, Trustee McCauley. And I can tell you, like, I have brain sludge, right? Because I can tell you that the 4 members of that relay team were Robert Esme, Bernie Cern, Glenroy Gilbert, and Donovan Bailey. Yeah. My son says to me, "Where do you keep that stuff stored?" I said, "I don't know, but it's there," right? So anyways, any further trustee comments? Looking to Trustee Hunda? None? Okay, so I will move on to my remarks for this evening. First and foremost, I had a lovely call yesterday afternoon from our new Ontario Public School Board Association President, Kathleen Woodcock. Just out of the blue, I was working around in the afternoon, and she called personally to thank us for the letter that we sent congratulating her on her new presidency. And we probably chatted for about 15 or 20 minutes, and, you know, just she's wondering what's happening in Rainbow, and some of the issues that we talked about are common ones across the province. I did talk a little bit about transportation issues, talked about trustee code of conduct, talked a little bit about our, you know, SIP funding, so on and so forth. So it was really, really nice, and she seems like she's really, really well equipped to take on the task of being the president of the organization. So I was very, very pleased to hear from her yesterday afternoon, and I thanked her very much for her call on all our behalves. We are, of course, 3 weeks into the new school year, and already great things are happening in Rainbow Schools. And I want to join with our Director of Education to thank our principals and our vice principals and our teachers and our support staff for creating a safe and welcoming schools that nurture belonging, fostering well-being, and build connections, providing opportunities or optimum environments for teaching and learning. In this evening's update, the director touched on all of the board priorities through the tangible examples. I was impressed with the third cohort of Project Search at H&N interns, and of course the launch of Project Search Pioneer Manor on October 1st, all made possible through the power of partnerships. The program is growing to offer more opportunities for more students, and I encourage any trustee to get a chance to visit the program because it's fantastic. And of course, the Terry Fox runs keep the Marathon of Hope alive for cancer research. I extend a special thanks to all school staff who work diligently to organize these events each and every year to support a cause that has touched so many of us in our lives. And it was really particularly impressed to hear that Rainbow Schools have raised over $1 million in the number of years, so that's fantastic. An opportunity for our community to support LaSalle Elementary School to love of reading through the Indigo Love of Reading Foundation Adopt a School initiative. Until October 6th, every dollar donated to Indigo on the Kingsway and online goes towards purchase of books to further promote reading at schools and at home. And of course, Sudbury Secondary Schools Multiculturals Fair on Wednesday, September 25th, celebrated diversity and the opening of the new Welcome Center and the newcomers, and the presentation that we had tonight was just absolutely fantastic. Also wanted to mention the sunrise ceremony at Manitoulin Secondary to mark National Day for Truth and Reconciliation on Monday, September 30th at 6:45 a.m. And I know that Trustee Clement will be there bright and bushy-tailed. This is a time to acknowledge the survivors of residential schools who had the courage to share their stories. It is also a time to remember the children who never made it home. Staff and students will come together and wear orange as a symbol of truth as we continue to walk together on the path towards reconciliation. And of course, plans for the Parent Involvement Committee Annual General Meeting on Tuesday, October 15th, where participants will engage in carousels to gain hand-on strategies and what they can do at home to support their child's learning. And this is only a few examples of what I could have highlighted about this evening. And I think we all enjoyed hearing actually through the student voices in the updates. Students are the focus of everything that we do in Rainbow Schools. I'm proud of the wonderful work being done in our schools in all our priority areas: student success and achievement, truth and reconciliation, literacy and numeracy, mental health and well-being, environmental education and sustainability, and equity and inclusive education. I will end with a reminder to parents and guardians that there are no classes for students on Friday, September 27th, as our staff will be working on school improvement plans, and that the schools will be closed on Thanksgiving, which is on Monday, October 14th. Thank you, and that's my report for this evening. So the next section of our agenda is section G. There's informations and proposals, so that's part of your package: reports from officials and staff, tenders and request proposals, and non-staff communication, which includes the letter dated August 28th, 2024, which we sent to Minister Dunlap in regards to trustees' code of conduct. Section H indicates the future meetings that are coming up, and that leaves us with our last section on the agenda. It's adjournment. And I need a mover that we do adjourn at 7:14 p.m. And that's moved by Trustee Cosmley. Thank you very much.